AgWeek weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
How will the weather fare as we round out the month of November? Here's John with our Agri-weather outlook.
The Great Plains, the upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes region are staring down the battle of something we call northwest flow. Now, what that means is it's just a jet stream pattern, which for the moment is created a bit of a lull in the action, but will likely bring more snow chances and more cold weather as we get into the next couple of weeks. Here's what I'm talking about. Northwest flow in the jet stream pattern. This does two things. It tends to allow the really cold air from the higher latitudes to drop down into the northern plains and the Great Lakes area. At the same time, where the wind is a little more westerly on the south side of the jet stream, tends to allow very mild Chinook warming in the high plains, and that temperature contrast can create some very interesting temperature patterns. Now, for the moment, here as we start this weather pattern here on Sunday, the flow is rather split over the western U.S., and that means that this branch of the jet stream for the time being is relatively weak, so we're not seeing this as extreme a setup as it sometimes can be. We do have freezing weather from North Dakota across the Great Lakes down through the upper Midwest, and of course the higher mountainous regions. We are going to see this narrow little region, though, of fairly mild weather, which as we get into the middle of the week, I do see a little surge of very cold air coming out on this northwest flow pattern, but because the pattern is fairly weak, I don't think it will make real inroads. It will mostly stay a Canadian thing and then begin to retreat. Now, this split flow pattern will begin to evolve. It will keep the east and northeast states fairly cool, fairly cold, in fact. As we get toward the weekend, ridging will really complicate things. It'll take that split and squash it a bit and send it southward, and that'll be setting us up for the second full week of December for a likelihood of some mild weather into the northern plains to be replaced by some fairly cold weather once again. And in between all of that, this second week, December 8th through 14th, likely to be a little bit more stormy across the northern plains area. Meanwhile, the south, a little bit of a cool down in through Florida. This first week, the second week, things will warm up, I think, quite nicely. Precipitation pattern. This first week of December looks fairly quiet. With the split flow pattern, we'll see some significant rains along the Pacific Northwest coast. Most of the Rocky Mountain region will be fairly dry. Frankly, most of the United States outside Washington and Oregon will be pretty dry. There will be a couple of moderate snow systems probably staying just north of the Canadian border. But the second week looks quite active again. Somewhere in the western Great Lakes, northern plains, potential is there for heavy snow, rain further south, and generally a more active pattern.